Hey guys, so if you watched the Sweet Rolls final video, you saw this really great blanket. Didn't turn out quite like I wanted. Just took too much yarn for not enough space. So I said I was going to frog all those projects, and did. Actually, my husband did, but close enough. And this is what came about from those three skeins. That's the pink and purple, and the purple with purple and the blue with purple are in this big ball. And I'm going to be redoing these as another blanket. And I thought, since I'm taking the time to reuse this yarn, I may as well try out a pattern I've had for a long time. So I wanted to bring you like a two-purpose video, just kind of another like, hey, Sweet Rolls actually is crappy, as it seemed in the last video. And it's probably not. So I'm going to bring you also, sorry about that, Q-hook afghans, but not with a Q-hook. I used to be super into those big bulky blankets. It's actually kind of how I started when I was 8, crocheting with a gigantic Q-hook and a bunch of skeins of yarn or strands of yarn at once. It was super fun when I was 8. I still kind of like it, but I really like baby blankets right now. So I realized if I used one of these patterns with a normal sized hook, not that Q isn't normal, but a more average sized hook. In this case, I have a K at 10.5, 6.5 millimeter. It's about 1 millimeter more than they recommend. On the ball band for this, they say a 5.5. But as I said in the last one, that's a little tight for crocheting, even for me, and I'm a super loose crocheter. So I figured this would loosen it up. And if you've never done a Q hook blanket, it's really just two strands of worsted put together at the same time. And I want to do this one, which is this blanket here. Really pretty. And one of the things I want to show you here is they say that it's going to take 2 strands of worsted held together with a size Q hook, which is a 15 millimeter. If you've never up or downsized your hook, so you've never converted from a double strand to a single strand or a single to a double, all you really need to do is take, when you're going up a size, so if I'm holding 2 or 3 or 10 strands together, I would just add together the recommended hook size. So if I have a 5 millimeter recommended hook, if I have 2 of those strands, I would use a 10 millimeter hook, and so on and so forth. So if I had 3 strands of yarn that recommended a 5 millimeter, I would use a 15. So that's pretty easy to do the math. The same works in reverse. So this recommends a Q, divided in half is a 7.5. I'm actually going to go down with 6.5 because I have got a super loose crocheting issues. So those of you who watch my videos on the regular know that I say it over and over again. I'm just a loose crocheter, fairly loose knitter as well, but my yarn gauge is super loose. So look at my gauge: 12 single crochet inches and 10 rows to 5.5 inches. I should be doing about that in half the space. So 12 singles should be about 4 inches, 10 rows should be about 10 rows should be about 2.25 inches. Or I could go the other way and say 24 single crochet for 8 and 20 rows for 5.5. I'm not gonna check my gauge, I'll be honest with you. I never do. Not never, just super rare. And they do a color sequence of 2 rows each. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to use my yarn and as it goes. As we saw in the previous video, it's got a really nice multicolor because I'm using a color changing yarn with long repeats. It should get me 2 to 4 rows of each color before it changes automatically anyway, so I'm not really going to worry about going through the 2-row repeat. So we'll see. The first thing I'm going to do is chain 68, and then I'm going to do my first row, and then we'll see how things go. I'll check back with you when I get there. Oh gosh, I totally forgot, you guys. I have a new bag. It is really awesome, so I figured I'd also tell you about that while I'm here. This is a Sarah Stitches medium knitting bag with a pocket. It's got snaps to hold the pocket closed. It's got 2 holes to feed your yarn out of, so you can use multiple strands at the same time here. The pocket on the outside holds all my pattern work. It also holds my notions bag. The inside has plenty of room. This actually held all 3 cakes of this yarn when I was making the previous project. So it'll hold about a pound of yarn, maybe a little more, but 3 sweet rolls at once is pretty impressive for what is essentially a nice handheld bag. It's got a good, what is that? Lining, what's the word? And my handle has a button, 2 buttons, snaps. So I can actually snap this around the arm of a chair. Sorry for the noise in the background, you're probably hearing Curious George. Let me see if I can cut my hand around my speaker here so you can hear me a little better and less Curious George. I also use that to hold my, I always have a lanyard hook with me, a lanyard, but a carabiner with me. But it also holds my yarn cutter. Not going to be important on this particular project, but pretty awesome in general. And again, I can unsnap this, and I can put this around like the arm of my chair at work or at home. I can also hang it on a hook, so that's super handy. Bags like this are really good if you are someone like me who has a lot of scrap yarn, because you can just toss it all in here and then keep crocheting as you go, or knitting. Pop your project in the outside pocket or stick it back in the inside as you're going, and it really just works well for these kinds of projects. This is a stay-at-home mom who makes these, so I really like to support her. You can check her out, Sarah Stitches on Etsy. I'll put a link in the in the notes below, and I'm gonna go because my son is calling me. Alright, so first couple of rows are done with. More than a dozen rows are done, I guess. And it's still kind of stiff. So I sized up basically 2 hole needle hook sizes to a 6.5 or 5.5 millimeter, and it's still kind of stiff. Probably because I'm using a single crochet as my main stitch, but kind of frustrating. So otherwise the pattern's nice. I like it a lot. I say that all the time, I know. I really like this because it's easy. I don't think too much about it, but I did just enough thinking that I remember that I'm working on something and I don't get carried away. It's just a 2-row, 3-row repeat. Pretty quick and easy. You can see every other row you're doing these long single there's long doubles. Pretty easy to work on. The back doesn't look as cool as the front. However, the repeats are a little longer than I would like them to be, so I may do this sideways instead. Make this a prayer shawl and do it twice as wide. So right now it's like 68 stitches wide. I'll do something about twice that. So I'll be back with you in a few minutes, or a blink, really, in YouTube time, to tell you more about how I'm adjusting this to fit what I need. Alright, so I'm on the road again. Seems to be pretty common now. And I wanted to update you on, or give up this video on this redo that I was doing for the Sweet Roll by Premier. And you can see these colors, really pretty colors. I did size up to the 7mm hook. It is a lot better. The drape and everything is a lot better. It's got a lot more give. You can see it's a little squishier. I don't like a super tight blanket. I like it to have a little bit of give. So this is working a lot better for this. So there is that. The pattern's working up really nicely. You can see how that is really doing its job with the drop downs here, here. Liking it a lot. It still has a little bit of curl to it at the edges, but I think that'll go away once it's big enough.
So this will actually be a prayer shawl, not a blanket, but this will be really nice, and it's not quite the gauge that's in the pattern, but that's okay. I wasn't going for anything particularly exact. As you remember, we were talking about how, because I'm going down, it was a 15 millimeter hook with 2 strands of worsted, and I'm basically using 1 strand of worsted and now a 7 millimeter hook. I should be expecting to get about twice as many stitches per inch as the original pattern called for. So I did end up casting on actually more than twice, about 1.5 times. It was in the pattern. I adjusted a little bit to actually make sure I had the right number of stitches to do the right number of repeats, so I didn't end up in like half a repeat, which would end up being a little weird. It's working up really nicely, and we can check back in shortly. I'm hoping to get this finished before the end of this trip, which is just a quick to and from my in-laws' house. So I will pop back in with you guys when I am done.
And here is the end result. You'll see the carpet here is different than you remember from earlier in the video, because I thought I had done this portion already, and apparently I hadn't, thanks to someone who was paying attention and let me know that they hadn't seen this video come out yet. As I said, I was going to possibly redo the sweet rolls, and so the original video was back in June or July of last year, of 2017. Maybe before that. It's now February 2018, and I found this when I was moving. Happened to mention it in a vlog the other day, and you guys were like, hey, by the way, Joy, that video not on YouTube. So I don't have really great light in my living room right now, but I still wanted to get this out tonight, because you've seen these colors before, and I'll link the original video in the description. But the full shawl came to about 57.5 inches, and we had talked about the gauge a couple minutes ago in this video, so I wanted to kind of bring this down 5.5, I think it was 12 stitches over 8 inches, 24 stitches over 8 inches. So we'll do 4 here. And so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11-ish? So, I mean, that's pretty spot on, actually. So that's pretty good. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I wasn't really going for, as I mentioned, a particular gauge. You can see these colors are still absolutely beautiful, and I don't hate this yarn now. It's actually much softer. I did have to go way up on the hook size to get a not stiff product. I have not actually finished it. You can see the ends. I still have not put my ends in. I really don't know if I'm going to keep it like this. I still haven't decided, so let me know your comments and tell me if you think I should keep this as a shawl at 50-some inches, 57 inches, or if I should redo this a third time into something I'll actually use. Let me know. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.